Alright guys, this is my second video. Well, not technically, but... So I made a video, but I didn't give YouTube permission to get into my photos and everything and to read and write my photos. So now, I made like a 20-minute video, which I'm going to probably do this in 10 minutes now, I think, if I can stand 10 minutes of talking, which I talk a lot, so... anyways, this video is for anybody who is starting WGU. I'm going to try and help a little bit, give you a little insight, things I didn't know, things I, was kind of oblivious to and had to figure out on my own, and I felt like a lot less frustration would have happened had someone told me, or maybe if I had looked on YouTube. Anyways, I've seen a lot of videos that people have, and I guess the main thing is, first of all, let me start by saying that I am in my second semester. I am on my second modified progression because I procrastinate. And first, let's talk about the first semester, because I will get ahead of myself and I'll go around and around in circles and it will be horrible. So, first semester, you have from January, or whenever you start, I started in January. I had from January, you basically have 6 months. So from January 1st, I believe it was, anyway, so like the end of June, beginning of July, you have 6 courses. And even if you have your courses ready, they still want you, for whatever reason, to take like your my chemistry. They made me take chemistry again, and I had chemistry. I was actually trying to do a BSN program at UTL Science Center, but it didn't work out. And they made me take, and then everybody has to take an orientation, and you have to take a internet technology course. So for the most part, you have those 6 months to do all your work. I know everybody stresses out about biochem. Let me tell you something about biochem right now. Take the PAs if you do okay in the PAs, but go to the OAs. You still got to read the book. Don't get me wrong. You still got to read the book. But go to the OAs, and one of the main things you want to do is go to the competencies. There's a competency, and it tells you every single thing that's going to be basically on the sentence. Now, it's a lot of stuff. It's not simple. People have a really hard time with the OA. A lot of people did. I don't remember if I passed my first time. I know the PAs, like one of the first ones I took, I didn't pass. And they tell you, well, take the PA first, like just right off the bat. Just take the PA, and that way you'll know where you're at. Which, in hindsight, I think would actually be not a bad idea, but I thought, well, I don't want to fail anything. Fail it. Just take the damn thing, figure out where you're at, and that way you'll get an idea of some of the things that are on the exam, I think one of the PAs I didn't pass, and I was kind of really upset with myself, and they're like, don't worry about it. And then I took the OA. I don't think I ever failed the OA. I think when I took the PA, I ended up taking the PA like 3 or 4 times, but it doesn't change. The PA stays the same, which is horrible. It should change so that you could get a better understanding of what, like, the word bank, or the question bank would be. So don't let that fool you. You take the PA, those are the questions. They're not going to change. They may change order, but that's about it. I'm pretty sure they were all the same. So on my second attempt at the PA, guess how wonderful I did, right? Not an indicator of the OA. The OA is totally different. You want to go to the OA, get the competencies, read over those subjects, and then read everything again. Understand very well, especially the mechanism for ATP, and every subsection. You want to know the Krebs cycle like through and through. That is quite a few questions, and if I can remember them up to this point, if I can remember having those questions, then that means there was quite a few questions. A lot about the electron transport chain, a lot about free electrons and what happens, how it starts. The videos are very helpful that they have. Don't ever not use what you're given. If you go to notes on most of the courses, if you go up to the side, I believe it's notes or announcements, a lot of the instructors will post videos there. Now, the thing I do not like about WGU is everything is all over the place. It's kind of frustrating. There's like 3 or 4 pathways to the same thing. Just kind of go in order, find out what you need to do. If you're the kind of person who has checklists, which I'm not, I just got an organizer. I recently got an organizer and I'm gonna try and organize everything because I suck at organizing. I procrastinate, and it's what I do. Point is, if you're the kind of person who has checklists and everything, you're gonna do a lot of work. If you do every single thing, you're gonna be a fucking amazing nurse. Amazing, because you are gonna get the same text, same knowledge, same everything. I want to say like 2 or 3 times, which is pretty much what psychology says, right? If you go over something, you read it, you write it, you know, whatever. And if they kind of give you the same material before you know it, you're like halfway through it. You're like, hey, wait, it's the same thing I already read. But do it. If you're that kind of person, that's awesome. I get frustrated because I don't like repeating. I don't want the same stuff to repeat. So get the competencies, go through the parts you need. The quizzes help a lot. They have the review. The reviews for biochem are pretty awesome. When you do DNA, they're kind of tricky. You have to make sure that you switch to DNA the right way, and make sure you answer the right question. Make sure you know how RNA and like transfer RNA. Make sure you know whether it's transfer RNA or messenger RNA, because they're different, and because you know whether it goes forward or backwards. Make sure you understand how DNA works and how it goes forward and backwards, and how, you know, they're just different. And make sure you know, I think all the stop codons have something in common. I forget exactly what it was, but I remember seeing it and I was like, okay, any stop codon that has like UA or AU or something like right off the bat, then you know that's a stop codon. And they'll usually ask you, okay, what's the third sequence? And it should be like nothing, because there was a stop codon in the very first sequence once you changed it. So pay attention to those things. The reviews are very helpful for that. I have some Apple notes, and maybe I'll post them. I don't know. I'll try and figure out, see what, as far as what I can actually help with and what I can't, because I don't want to get in trouble for making these videos. So I'm gonna ask my mentor. The first semester, you know, med dose isn't very hard. You just have to like take your time, do the math. It's not that bad. I didn't think it was very bad at all. I know some people struggled with it, but you shouldn't struggle with it. It's just math. It doesn't change. You cannot change math. I mean, and everything's like divisible by 1,000. You know, it's just you're moving decimals, and you have to get in the routine of moving decimals. Once you get in the routine of moving decimals, you should be pretty damn good. So it was pharmacology, med dose, which is basically building on each other. I love pharmacology. It taught me a lot of things that I shouldn't have learned about medications. And we'll get into that in a later video, and I'll explain, because like I have ADD and I take ADD meds, so understand that. And I haven't taken my pill today, so we're not going to be on track at all. I want to say, if anybody has any questions anytime, send me a message or comment, and I'll look through them. I'll try and be consistent. I'm going to try and build a whole new me of consistency. If you look at my previous videos, it's like my kids. My son growing up, which he's now 15. I'm older now, and I have a 5-year-old now. So a 4-year-old actually, and you know, he's fun, and I'll get some videos of him later. My point is that I'll try and go ahead and be consistent. I got a planner, and I'm gonna try and do these things so where if I get viewers and people ask me questions, then I'll try and at least weekly be on YouTube, where I can make a video, especially through school, because then it'll remind me to do things. Try not to procrastinate. If you're a procrastinator like me, then just do your best to like set dates, and that's why I'm trying to do this, because in the first semester you have those 6 months. That's what I started saying at the beginning of this like 10 minutes ago. You have those 6 months. In the second semester for Castle 1, which is in your schedule, if you scroll over in your app or whatever you have, in your second semester you'll have Castle 1 and Castle 2. So they don't tell you, which I'm sure there's dates on things, but in the first semester no one enforced the dates. So, you know, procrastinators like me, if someone tells you you can go to a certain point, you're going to take that point. So that's what I did. So I thought I had 6 months. Again, wrong. For Castle 1, you have the first 2 months. Their due dates are due dates. That is done. That has to be done by that date. If not, you do not move on. You're on modified progression. You have to finish that course. You can't like do everything at once or finish everything in the last month or the last like whatever, like the way, you know, procrastinators do. So make sure you do that. Start Castle 1 hard. The main things is going through, I want to say in Castle 1, this is more fresh in my mind, so that you're going to get a lot more now than what you got for 1. But if you want to ask me, I do Apple Notes, and I have an Apple Pencil. I use my Apple iPads. The most wonderful thing is the split screen. I look at the books, I take notes, and I go over everything. It works amazingly. So Castle 1, this is all the fresh stuff, okay? This is where you get all the information that will really help you if you're if you're barely starting Castle 1. Hit it hard, do the ATI quizzes. Read them, go through the ATI quizzes. Their expectation is for you to read this stuff like super fast and take the test super fast. Don't be discouraged by the ATIs, just keep taking them. Take the quiz, you can wait 3 days, keep going, take them again. They let you take them like almost as much as you want. My time limit said like I had 8 freaking years or something, I don't know what it said something like a whole lot of time. I could never spend that much time reading. Go through those tests. If you do the ATI and you take the ATI test at the end, all the questions are basically there. So the thing you have to think about and understand is everything that's going to be in ATI for your proctored fundamentals 1, your first fundamentals proctored exam, is going to be everything from those quizzes. Just about. Now, same thing. You can go through and when you finish the test, you can go to results and it'll tell you where you didn't do too well. Everything is prioritized around QSEN, which is the quality, safety, the new thing that nursing is based around, which I should know that, which is horrible, but I still passed with the 80-something for my second test. For my second time. The first time I took the ATI proctored exam, I got a 61 point something. I missed it by like 1 question, or a 62 point something. And this time I got an 87.3, I think. And that was because I went back and I just took all the tests, which I didn't even finish all the quizzes, I swear. Like, I just went and this is like the most important thing I can tell you about ATI is when you go back and you're looking at your ATIs, if you see a word in the answers, read all the answers. If you see a word that you don't know it, write that shit down. Write it down, study what that is, because every test is going to have a word bank. And yes, you should know everything, but the thing is, I've worked in a hospital for quite a few years now, and I've developed misconceptions of the way healthcare is or should be, or the way I've seen healthcare, taken care of in my institution where I work. And if you're an LVN, or if you're a phlebotomist or an EKG tech or whatever you're doing, a respiratory therapist. Now, respiratory, you got a heads up on all of us. But for the most part, if you're a CNA, a MA, anything like that, try and throw that out the window, because I caught myself answering questions and getting the wrong answers because I was applying the knowledge that I had from my work and my facility that were the wrong answers. That happened, I want to say 50% of the wrong answers that I got, maybe even 60 to 70, a good amount of the wrong answers I got were things that I made assumptions of because I used knowledge that I had gained from working in a healthcare field. Don't do that. That's the one thing you need to. Don't even think about work. I caught myself taking a test, sitting down. I took the proctor exam the first time, and I actually questioned myself about a measurement. And I work in a lab, and I know these measurements. So don't ask me how. I didn't sleep the night before, so maybe that was part of it. But don't use the knowledge that you have from work. If it's concrete and it's something that's evidence-based, fine. Do what you want to do. But unless you read it in the book, don't apply it to school, because school is totally different. Everybody knows, the hospital is just different. You got to pretend like you're basically a nurse who has one patient, and you have all this free time. And there's like one that says, if the blood pressure doesn't work, what do? You then you do it manually every 15 minutes. Who knows a nurse who's going to go with a patient? They have 6 patients most of the time, right? Every 15 minutes means it takes 2 minutes to do a blood pressure, probably. Taking a setup, putting on the patient's arm, depending on the patient, some people don't want to move around. That's 2 or 3 minutes. So you have basically, for the rest of your patients, you have 15, you have every 15 minutes you got to be there. you probably get about like 2 or 3 minutes per patient, if that. Plus you still got to chart, give meds, you know, things like that. And especially like the meds, you know, you got every med according to the book. And I know there's a lot of people some people who do it, some people who don't. It just depends on how many meds you have, I would imagine. But I've rarely ever seen a nurse do it as far as the way protocol says. The protocol says you scan the patient, explain the med, make sure they agree to it, then take it out of the package, scan the package, something like that. It's pretty much like that. But you don't take a medication out of the package until you're ready to give it to the patient. If you've worked in a healthcare field, you know that you usually just see 10 pills in a cup, right? Or whatever, like 4 or 5 pills in a cup. So, I mean, so you got to understand the book is different, totally different. Go through the answers that you don't know in the ATI exams. Study those answers so you know what they are. Know what atelectasis is, and know what, you know, these different syndromes are, and know what Chauvet's sign is. Like, even though it's a Chauvet's sign and you see it and you're like, what's that? And it's not the answer to that particular question you're doing, it doesn't matter. You're going to probably need to know that for your next test or another, even probably your proctored exam, and that's on one of your quizzes. Look it up. Look up all those things that you see that if you don't recognize it or you're not sure, then look it up. Trust me, it'll. A lot of the baby stuff I really didn't get, and you would think because I have kids, so but I didn't, like setting up what age you're supposed to set up and all that. I had a hard time with that. Another thing is, it's funny because when you do the Nursing Rocks videos, the Nursing Rock videos are pretty awesome. And if you look at the Nursing Rocks videos, then you'll see that